Good evening. My name is Jim Kello. Welcome to NewTracks Meetup. This is where mentors can help modelers build. Thank you so much for coming. Really do appreciate it. Hope you come back often and hope you tell your friends. If you're new to the show, I hope that you'll visit and subscribe to our website, NewTracksModeling.com. And don't forget to confirm your subscription because you'll receive an email from the website to your email address that you entered. And if you confirm it, then in the future, you'll get all of the emails about the future shows and logins for those shows. You'll also be able to participate in the drawings that we have for prizes periodically on the shows. So the sooner that you subscribe to the show, the sooner you're eligible for the prize drawings. If you want to, you're welcome to pass on the login information you get to the shows to your friends. We ask you not to post them on a public site for security reasons, so that we hopefully won't be hacked. We need a lot of help on our shows. The kind of jobs that we need are we need somebody to start one of the shows like Ken started this one this evening. And we need people who can edit our videos after the show to make sure that they're as good and accurate as we can get them. We need people who can post items on the website to take the pressure off of Jamie and Jeremy, who are doing it all now. And we also need people who can post our shows on Facebook and other media sites to increase our audience, our viewers. We need people who can do the various training necessary with our guests to help them be able to have the best presentation they can possibly make. And Dan Cohen will be here a little bit later to talk about the help that we need with the YouTube viewers. So if you're familiar with the YouTube and how it operates and you would like to help us get the most out of our live streaming and the videos that we post on YouTube, please let me know. And my email is jimkellow1, JIMKELLOW 1 @gmail.com. And now I'd like to talk a little bit about the upcoming build-alongs that we're going to have. And the first one I'd like to talk about is the one for Hunterline that Rick and Marie Hunter are going to produce for us starting September the 1st. You see a placard that's up on the screen right now. They're going to be building their 81-foot timber trestle. Rick, I don't know whether you made it on yet or not. If you did, do you want to talk about this a little bit? And obviously he did not. I really apologize to Rick.
Rick, you have to unmute.
I really want to apologize to Rick about that. I didn't know that somebody had changed the email or the login information. And I sent him the one that I was trying to use. And I found out about 20 minutes before the show started that it wasn't the right login. So I really apologize to you, Rick, for giving you the wrong information.
Hi, Jim. Are we on now?
Yeah, you are.
Okay.
I'm glad you could make it.
I'm on the iPhone. The other one's so screwy. I don't know what's the matter with it. Of course, I went there and it wants to do a big update. So I don't know. Anyways, I'm on the iPhone. I've never done this way before.
Well, it's just like talking on the telephone. Anyway, I announced that you're going to start the build on September the 1st and be building it in 30-minute segments through October the 6th.
Yes.
And Al Collins is going to be giving a discount, I understand, and you're going to be talking about that. So if you'd like to talk about the build a little bit, I'd love for you to do that.
Okay, as long as I can make a connection here, we're good. We're going to build our 81-foot trestle. There's two different versions of it. There's a frame version and a pile version. So it's your choice. The frame version means it's a square post that sits on a wooden sill. And the wooden sill would have to sit on rock or cribbing or something solid. And the pile is round post, and it gets piled into the ground. Now, about the piling, we're one of the few in the world that actually have basswood doweling. Okay, and it's a little bit hard to come by, but we do have it. That way, you're not using a maple or a birch or something from Michael's, and this way it distresses the same, it stains the same, it glues the same. So that's a big plus on the pile. Now, which one are you going to use? Well, you got to think about it. If you're up in the mountains somewhere with lots of rock, you're not going to be able to pile it into the ground. So then you'd use a frame. If it's got a lot of silt or something around, then you can still use the pile. So it's your choice. So we're doing it in N, H, O, S, and O. We don't really have a narrow gauge version, but it's a very simple process to alter it a little bit for any of the narrow gauge guys. So the flyer is there. We need to have all the registrations in by, I do have a date here, by August the 20th, which gives us time to get it shipped to you. So it's going to be run just exactly the same as the King Post Bridge was, which was really successful. We were quite pleased with the response and the results that we got back from it. And let's do it, guys. This is a great opportunity because the pile and the frame, you got to remember what a trestle is for. A trestle is a bridge that has can be any height, any length, and any shape. That's what's really important, is the shape. So we're going to build the straight version, and if you're really energetic, you can do the curved version on your own. Now, what you need to do is email us your order. Don't do it online because it won't have all the discounts on it. And so we need what scale you're in, whether you want the frame version or the pile version, and the two colors of weathering mix that you want. Usually, just like King Post, a lighter color being browns or grays, and then the creosote black or one of the dark colors to finish it off at the end. So we hope to have this all wrapped up by the September the 6th. No, October the 6th. This is going to involve a lot of homework because we're going to show you how to do the basic sub-assembly, and then you're going to have to do the other sub-assemblies at home. So you're probably looking at the worst scenario of 5 or 6 hours of homework each session to keep up with this. So anyways, if you don't keep up with us, it's on YouTube, so you can always go back and view it over and over again. Anything else you think of, Jim?
Yeah, Al said that you were going to talk about.
Al, yes. I think Al's probably on there. I talked to him this afternoon. Now, what he's going to offer is for the sander and the repeater, he's going to give everybody $20 off if you register for the build along.
And to register for the build along, that means you have to contact Rick Hunter to get his one of the kits that he's going to build the build along with.
Yep.
And then he'll take care of getting you in touch with Al, and you make the arrangements for that the shipping. From what Al tells me, Rick, and you can correct me, but from what I understood from Al this afternoon, Marie is going to be using that ultimation sander and repeater extensively in this build. So it really it could be an important factor for the modelers that want to build along with this.
Yeah, it would be a good idea. It's not necessary, but would be a good idea because there's a lot of angles that we have to cut, and a lot more angles that are just straight 90 degrees, so you can get the sanding aspect of it going. So Al's going to give us $20 off for the full set of the sander and the repeater.
Well, thanks so much, Rick. I appreciate you doing this for us again. This is Rick's Marie's second build along for us, and I really do appreciate it. I think that this is going to draw a lot of interest because trestles are of interest to a lot of different modelers, and certainly having Marie there to be able to walk you through it and be a crunch for you if you run into any problems, I think is a fantastic way to learn how to build a trestle. So, and Al, thank you so much for the discount on your ultimation to try to help modelers who may be new to this learn using the best tools available. So thanks to both of you, and we'll go from there.
Okay, thanks a lot, Jim.
Thank you so much. The next one that I want to talk about here a minute is the one that Martin Brechbiel is building with Leadville Designs. This is going to be a maintenance away car. He starts on September the 22nd. And for orders between August the 15th and the 30th of September, Leadville Designs is giving a 10% discount off of the maintenance of way cars. This again is an opportunity to watch a very, very talented modeler build the car and be available to answer your questions and to communicate with you if you run into trouble. It's almost having a separate mentor to help you build this. And it's a really great opportunity, in my opinion. So I hope that you'll take a long look at working with Martin to build the Leadville Designs car. Next, then, we have Jim Murphy building another LaBelle Woodworking kit. This one's a unique car. It's a business car. He's going to be building it in HO. It also comes in O scale. LaBelle is giving a tremendous 25% discount off of this car. Also, you have Jamie Bothwell around to give you advice on if you really want to super detail the underbody of a passenger car. So I think this is really a unique opportunity to build a really special car and to have somebody of Jim Murphy's caliber be your mentor in it, I think is just outstanding. This is the second one, as I mentioned, that LaBelle has done with us. So I hope a lot of you will participate and take a hard look at building along with Jim Murphy starting September the 11th. Then October the 16th, Bill Davis.
Excuse me, Jim, just
yes,
a correction on that. September 11th has been moved to October 13th.
Gotcha. My mistake.
Quite all right.
It is October 13th, and thanks so much for saying that.
Okay. Looking forward to it.
Gotcha. Okay. October the 16th, I think that's the right date. October the 16th, Bill Davis is going to start building a rail scale models tobacco barn kit. Stephen Milley is the owner of Rail Scale Models, and he's giving a 20% discount off the kit for modelers who want to build it along with Bill Davis. This is not your normal barn, and I think it's really going to be something that you might really want to take an interest in. It's in all scales, N, HO, S, and O, and as I say, it's got a 20% discount if you mention and use the coupon code NewTracks, all one word, NewTracks, at the checkout screen. And then that'll automatically give you the 20% discount. That discount's available now through October the 30th. The next My Build coming up is August the 21st. And Jeremy Wyant, this is the last one that he's going to be moderating for Chris Thorst. And I hope we can get a lot of people participating to give Jeremy a real good send-off because he's done a great job, in my opinion. The August 21st My Build is going to be open to everybody. All you have to do is send a photo or several photos with a caption for each one and your name and send it to Jeremy. And Ed, if you could put Jeremy's email on the chat screen, I'd appreciate it. I don't have it. And Jeremy will include it then in a PowerPoint presentation. If you want to, you can be live on the show to discuss your model as the photos come up from Jeremy's PowerPoint. Or if you can't be or just not available, then Jeremy will talk about your model based on the caption information that you've provided. This My Build is for you. It's for all of us. And it's available. It's really meant for you to briefly show us what you're building, what you have built, what you're working on. If you want to go into a great amount of detail on your presentation, then I would encourage you to talk to me, and I'll set up a separate segment as I have for other people so that you can really spend some time, 15, 20 minutes, whatever you need, to really go into detail about it. But if what you want to do is just show us what you're modeling and talk about it briefly, then the My Build is the place to do that. And we really hope that a lot of you will do that. The My Builds are so we can all share the modeling that we're doing and share what each other are doing and show our accomplishments. And in hopes that other modelers who may not be building right now or may just not have been building for a long time become enthusiastic when they see some of the things that you're doing and how you're doing them, and also start building models. That's what the build-alongs are designed to help. And the My Build sections are hopefully there so that people that are doing the build-alongs and people that are building other things have an opportunity to talk to us about them and show us what you're doing. I was really encouraged the last My Build because we had a lot of people that built along with Rick and Maureen on their King Trust Bridge. I think most of those, if not all of them, were new customers for Rick's business. And I know that all of them that I saw, at least on the show, and the way they talked about their model, you could hear the pride in their voice, that they were really proud of what they had accomplished and wanted to share that. That's what My Build was designed for in the first place, to give an outlet for those people and for all of us to be able to show what we're building and take credit for the accomplishments of being able to be a model builder. So I hope you'll participate. As I say, this will be Jeremy's last time doing it. And I know that he'd like to be able to have more people and he knows what to do with. So please consider showing us your model. I know a lot of you are model builders, and I know a lot of you are really talented model builders. So there shouldn't be an excuse of why we don't have a lot of people sending in photos to Jeremy to show us exactly what's going on in the modeling world out there. Lastly, I'd like to talk a minute about a modeling question you may have. Somebody asked me the other day, what's a dumb question? And in my opinion, the only dumb question is the question that hasn't been asked. I've never heard a dumb question because normally whoever asks it is trying to get information. And it's the only way I know that we can try to pass information to people who need it. And that's for them to ask us a question and us to try to be able to answer it. So far, I'm extremely proud that we've been able to either have somebody come on the show and do a special segment to try to answer a question like Nick Santos did last show, and like Clark Cooning is doing on the spray painting coming up. So I'm really happy that we're being able to answer the questions modelers are asking. So if you have a question, let us know about it. There's a form on our website. All you have to do is fill it out and send it in, and I'll do everything I can to find the person to answer your question. Well, with that said, I'd like to turn to quick tips tonight. And instead of Paul Thompson or Ted Becker, we have a guest doing that tonight. Martin Brechbiel MMR has a quick tip that he'd like to share with us. Martin, welcome. Thanks so much for doing this.
All right, Jim. Let's see if I can get the right set of slides. Yeah, it looks like it. Well, glazing windows. Let's see. Let's go. There we go. How's that? All good? Visible? Sound works? Okay. So glazing windows. I generally glaze all the windows in all my models. unless I have a really good excuse not to. And I really like using glass. You know, the microscope glass slide slip covers, and cutting those is a lot of fun. But there are sometimes models where that just doesn't work, or it's just too much trouble or too much pain. And you fall back on acetate, or in this case, I prefer Lexan, which you can get from Clover House. You get it in 5 or 10 thousandths thickness, and it's pretty stable to almost every kind of adhesive. But you still got to cut it. And that's where this comes in. This is going to be fairly short because it's really about the tool. But here's why I didn't want to glaze everything with glass, because all these windows these are actually curved. And cutting that many curved glass, double curves, you know, even with a good diamond tip scribe, which I happen to have, even that's a bit of a challenge that I don't want to take on. So I went back to the Lexan and thought, well, I've got a lot of windows to glaze. There's a lot of cutting. There are a lot of them the same. I wonder if I could mass produce this in some way, cut strips out and just cut them to size. And, you know, you can do that with a ruler and a straight edge and cutting surface, and measure and cut. Measure twice, cut once, or measure 3 times, cut twice, get it wrong 4 times, go back and cut it right, cut it long, cut it short. And then I remembered I had one of these little gadgets laying around. Little miniature paper cutter. Well, it's actually not a paper cutter. It's actually a tool that stamp collectors use to cut the mounts for those expensive collectible stamps that they like to use, which are 2 layers of Mylar, and that's about 5 thousandths or so. And I thought, well, if I cut my stuff down to a certain width, I've got a couple inches here. If I cut it down to 4 inches, I can slice off pieces really fast to the width I want without having to really look at it too carefully, and just snip it down, just like the giant paper cutter that they keep warning you about. Don't stick your fingers in there, stupid, or you're going to cut your finger off. Well, there's no danger of this. It's your material slides right under this. There's a guard over here for measuring out how far you want to cut it. So I found this worked out perfectly fine, and I was able to glaze all those windows really quickly. Still had to cut the curved part by hand, but you know, a little bit of time and trouble saved is something saved and less trouble. And now if I could just find something to cut curves smoothly and consistently in mass production, it would be really handy. So that's what this is. It's a guillotine by Shogard. They're about $30. And if you're going to build a lot of stuff and glaze stuff with a lot of styrene or Lexan or Mylar or whatever it is, particularly if you're into larger scales, I think it's a worthwhile little gadget to have laying around. And that's all I got for you, Jim.
Well, Martin, I really do appreciate you sharing this with us. I've never heard of that tool before. I'm not a stamp collector. That may be why, but I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yep.
And this is, let me mention this again. Normally, Paul Thompson or Ted Becker do these, but we recently started opening this up to anybody that has a tip like this, because this is something that Paul or Ted may not have thought about. That Martin came up with and talked to Ted about it. And so Martin's here tonight instead of Ted or Paul. So if you have a tip, please let either Ted or Paul know about it. And they'll make sure that you share your tip with us in the future. So thanks again, Martin.
Sure.
And while you're here, Martin, you might as well just stay.
Oh, good.
Because now we're going to hear Martin Breckbiel MMR building an old kit, and I can't do this.
Well, not an old kit this week because I haven't caught up enough yet. But we're going to talk about a car I built probably in the last 18 months. I vaguely remember it, so it's probably within that time frame. So let me reshare. We're going to go back to Scratchbuilding Cars for a week or two because I got to get ahead of you guys. I can only build so fast in my shop.
Oh, poor baby.
Well, I only got 5 projects running at a time. So here we go. I don't know if it's 10 or not, but I thought it was a perfect number. So, you know, whatever. So start with the basic frame. Hey, it's a basic flat car frame, stick by stick. You've got side sills, end sills, beams in the middle, stick by stick decking. For some reason, I felt like doing stick by stick for once. It's a little tedious, but it's not that hard to do. And you just lay down some glue, slap on your boards. They're not cut exactly right. I like them a little rough on the edges sometimes. So here's the rest of the parts. Well, we've got basically a flat car built. I've got some resin bolsters, some extra boards here and there. Looks like some stakes, because I got stake pockets, so I better have stakes. Not even sure what those were for. And this is a piece of conduit from the electrical section over at Home Depot. You buy a nice 12 or 20 foot section of this, and you can build a lot of tanks or tank cars or whatever you want to use it for. It's a very handy material. It's just about the right size for O scale too. Well, quick, build up some sides, stakes, stake pockets. These are old Nation brass ones. You could use newer ones from Grant Line if you'd like. I don't remember what size these are and what size anything here is. It's been that long, but they're all drilled out for nut, bolt, and washer castings, which are added. And once the sides are built and mounted, now we can build the two ends to drop in at each end of the car and get those done correctly without any guesswork. They'll fit perfectly. And then we build a pair of toolboxes. This is just scribe siding, some odds and ends, some scribe siding for the sides, back and front, some scrap reinforcement, and a hunk of lead. So there's a hunk of lead in each one of these, and that's what keeps this car on the track. So I think that's 1/3 of an inch thick lead. So this car's got a little weight to it once it's fully assembled. So we take the toolboxes, we add some bracing, add some hinges, add some handles, some more nut bolt washer castings. Now we have our we have two toolboxes, one for each end of the car, or supplies, tools, supplies, whatever, what have you. Okay, we cut up that piece of conduit into short sections. The ends have scribe siding on them. I actually have a line on here so I know which end's up and where it's a straight edge, so I try to get both ends aligned. This is a piece of brass tubing with some brass square stock soldered onto it with some flat stock soldered to the top to get you a top cap on the tank. This is where the hinge will go eventually. So we got tanks. We need cradles for the tanks. So that's what those longer sticks were for. Building the cradles for the tanks to sit into, because we can't have them rolling around. And we have some barrel, stick by stick around the piece of conduit to get you a barrel. Then there's some barrel bands, which are actually made up from 15 by 60 thousandths brass, which is soldered together. They're actually pressure fit on. I actually measure those, solder them up, and use a screwdriver getting them over the edges. And once on, they slide in. Some drains at each end made out of some brass tubing and some brass wire for handles. You see the hinges have been added on top. So they're just sitting in there loose right now. Okay, now they're not loose anymore. We have some more 15 thousandths brass. This actually goes down through this beam. There's another beam on the outside of each of these. And that actually secures them in place. They're not glued in place. They're actually held in place by the brass strap. And you can see here on the end, it's a piece of brass soldered to some 28 thousandths or 33 thousandths wire into a turnbuckle, into another piece of brass wire, into the floor, out the other side. There's nut bolt and washers holding those pieces in place. And apparently I added even cross pieces across the end to hold it all together, and another turnbuckle. And you see a little update from where we were. We've got the stirrup steps in, air hoses in, a brake wheel. It's coming along nicely. The backside, well, the backside's not as interesting. There's no spigots or drains on the barrels, but it's basically the same car, front and back. Underbody, the basic K-brake, some levers, K-brake cylinder, the standard truss rod underbody, and nothing particularly fancy here that I'm aware of that I put in. Well, of course, I was smart enough this time to actually drill and tap the bolsters before gluing them in place. It's always easier to do beforehand than after. And just so you know, these are precision scale brass castings. Actually, these are plastic ones. I didn't use the brass ones. They're actually inserted into some brass 3/64 tubing, and the tubing fits right over the 33 thousandths airline. Well, you take it out in the driveway and give it a good coat of paint real quick. And this is what you end up with. And we paint the boxes. Storage toolbox is a different color just for fun. We get nice red and green because we can be very Christmassy then and have a nice color coordinated car. And coming into the home stretch, I actually put numbers on the thing. Didn't letter it for a road name, but it's car number 75. We have number 1 and we got number 3. What number 1 and number 3 are left to your imagination. The toolboxes are only held in there by friction and weight, that lead weight that's in there. They're not glued in place. They're still removable. I left them alone. Arch bar trucks underneath, held in there with 440 screws. And let's see, that's the back side. There's the front being the side with the spigots and drains. And that's all we're going to go with on that car for this week. And if I get far enough ahead, I get ahead of you all, I'll have this old kit 2 next week. And if I don't, well, it'll be another scratch build car. So if anybody's got any questions, I'm ready.
Quick question on why did you do the barrels that way? I know there's they used to do, I guess, vertical at one time. But
oh yeah, okay. I actually have pictures of a car that has the barrels turned that way. From, I don't know what the car actually carried, but it's in a picture at the I can't remember the name of the town. Baronsville? It's in Pennsylvania. That's where one of the major radium purification plants used to be in the 20s, teens and 20s. And I have a picture of a car there that has tanks on it turned in that direction. And I think it has 4 or 5 tanks on it. And in front of the car, of course, is standing there is Marie Curie. And it's a fascinating car, and I've never been able to track down what its real cargo and purpose was. But I figured, well, if they could have one car turn that way there, I could have a car turn that way with the tanks turned that way in my railroad, just for fun.
Great job, Martin. I really do appreciate it. Thanks so much for this evening.
No problem.
Dan Cohen just arrived, I understand, on the show, and I'd like to give Dan just a minute to talk about the kind of help we need on YouTube before I introduce our main speaker tonight, Brian Wolfe. Dan, could you do that for me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Barely.
Okay.
Need to be a little louder.
I will try and yell. So what we're looking for now, with a little bit of different direction with YouTube, is we're looking to update the video descriptions. And so what we're looking for is somebody who's willing to write up some descriptions, come up with descriptive terms about the videos, willing to watch it, and pick out what the timing of each segment, the start time of each segment. And this isn't something that you would even need to get in to be able to update in YouTube. If we have a format in place for this, which I envision is you can just write it up like on a Word document and email it to us, we can actually get it in. It's labor intensive, but it's something that's going to help us promote the videos on YouTube and use their algorithms to get more people involved in the shows on YouTube and also hopefully on Zoom at some point as well. So what we're looking for is essentially a description of what's going on in the video and then what they call tags. So some key terms, and they're often repetitive, like always putting in a scale as that, or always putting in our name as a tag. And it's just a comma, a delineated list that you would give us, and then we can cut and paste it for you. You wouldn't have to do any of that work in YouTube if that's not something you're comfortable with. So we're just looking for some hands in the pot to help us out with that. I think that would be a great start for us. And then if you are somebody who likes YouTube and likes working behind the scenes on the videos, we certainly could use your help with that too. We just want to make it as simple as possible for you to help out if you're interested. So if anybody's interested in doing something like that, if you can email Jim at the usual email address, he'll pass on your information to me, and then I can connect with you and show you exactly what I have in mind to try and make this a super simple task that just takes a little bit of time.
Or you can just simply send your email directly to Dan. Take me out of the loop altogether.
You could do that, yep.
Dan, do you mind putting your email up in the chat so that they do that if you don't mind?
Yeah, I can do that, absolutely.
So instead of sending it to me, why don't you just send it direct to him? Because he's the one that is taking care of all of this for us. He knows what we need and can talk to you about the specifics. I'm just kind of a go-between for that, and there's just no point in wasting your time. So just if you'll email direct to Dan, I would appreciate it. Dan, thanks so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Now I'd like to turn to our featured modeler, Brian Wolfe. Brian is the owner of a company called Mainline Hobby Supply. And Brian, I hope that I got that right this time. I apologize for the mistake in the article, but I've corrected that. So I hope I got the name of the company and your name correct so far. Brian, are you muted or?
Yes, he is muted.
I am muted. I'm unmuted now. There we go.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, listen, I want to talk to you about yourself a little bit, but you need to know the person that really got me to call you and to talk to you is Greg Cassidy. He thinks
I blame it all on him.
He thinks you've got the greatest hobby shop in the world and just wishes he could spend more time in your shop. And it's based on his comments, numerous evenings, I might add, about your hobby shop that got me so interested and called. And I really did enjoy our conversation. And would like for you to kind of tell us a little bit about who Brian Wolfe is, and then we'll talk about your hobby shop.
I'm 62 years old, retired from Frederick County government. We started the hobby shop, the wife and I, 31 years ago this September. Started out in a one-car garage. We now have a 3,000 square foot building that we've been in for 26 years. So it's just grown and become a full-time occupation.
Where exactly are you located, Brian?
17 miles southwest of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, right on the Maryland-Pennsylvania border. About 500 foot away from CSX Mainline.
Plenty of parking?
Pardon?
Plenty of parking?
Yes. Yeah.
Why did you start this 31 years ago? What led you and your wife to do something like this?
Needed a good hobby shop, I thought. Just wasn't there. There were some good ones around, but not what I thought was needed. And she needed a job, and I got her a job. So that's pretty much the way it started.
Works for me.
Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about the services that you provide? I mean, I keep hearing, Greg keeps telling me what a great hobby shop you are. What makes you so great?
Well, if somebody comes in and they want something, we try to get it for them. We try to find it for them and get it here. It's like Walther's. We order sometimes 3 times a week from Walther's. Other distributors out of Philly, we'll order sometimes 2 and 3 times a week just to keep the shelves full. A lot of folks come in and say, well, I bought the last one on the shelf. We'll order that afternoon and it's here the following afternoon. The shelf's not empty anymore. And that's what you got to do. You got to keep up with your inventory, and nobody wants to go to a store where the shelves are empty.
Well, you know, one of the questions that one modeler wanted me to ask all of the hobby shop owners is, how often you indicated you order 3 times a week from Walters. Let's say a modeler would like to order something from Walters. Can they call you up and have you include their order in your order, and then somehow notify them when theirs comes in so they can pick it up, or you ship it to them?
Oh yes, we do that all the time. People they'll call up and say, hey, I saw this engine in model railroader. So we go find that issue and that page, and then we track it down and we order it for them. And it's not anything special to me. It's just providing a service, and that's what we're here for.
Another question that some of the modelers were interested in is clinics, or how to build things.
Right.
Do you do any of those? I mean, are you involved with that kind of thing in your store?
With the South Mountain Division, up until last year because of COVID, and then again this year we didn't have it, we rent the fire hall across the street. So it's about an 8,000 square foot building, and they come in and set up how-to clinics, usually about 24 of them. You can come in, sit down at the table. If you like what you see, you stick around, watch the whole clinic. If not, you can get up and leave and find another one. We provide building kits for them. So you can show up, get a building, put it together, paint it, take the whole thing home with you at no charge. That's a once a year thing that we do. And then we do our open house. This year will be September 18th and 19th. We have home and club layouts that are open. And that's get people out and see what other people are doing, get the juices flowing. And that seems to be a big help too.
Let me ask you this. That sounds great to me. I mean, I wish other places would do that kind of thing. The modelers on the show, when I said, what are we really interested in hearing from the hobby shop owners? One of the things was, we don't expect a hobby shop to have everything that we can imagine that we want on the shelf every time we walk in there. We know that's just not possible. We also recognize that modelers, particularly model railroaders now, are experimenting in other hobbies and finding things from other hobbies that we haven't used before. Paints, for example, from war modelers and that kind of thing, military modelers. And the RC model airplane market for servos and different things for animation for the model railroaders. Right. So we're going into different hobbies. And it seems like the model railroader of today is more interested in a hobby shop that has the basics. If they go into a hobby shop and need track, they expect to get track. If they go in and they need basswood, they expect to get basswood. The basics of modeling is what they expect to have on the shelf when they go in. And they expect then the hobby shop to help them find the rest of whatever they need and help them figure out the best way of trying to get it.
Yep. And we stop. People come and say, well, you got everything. I said, no, I don't have the lumber to build the layout. I got everything else, but lumber's one thing. Our biggest problem, and what you're saying about, people expect the basics. Well, I do too. And not picking on Atlas, but there's Atlas track that we have not been able to get for 9 months. It's a track company with no track to sell. And that's the biggest frustration I have, is not being able to provide just a basic number 4 or number 6 turnout. And
why is that? Why is Atlas having this problem?
we've had that problem with Atlas for 30 years. It's just gotten worse. Microengineering, their excuse is they just can't make it fast enough. We order from Microengineering about every other week, and we might order 12 different SKUs and get maybe 6. It's right now everybody's trying to play catch up, but Atlas has had this problem before for years with their track. A couple years, probably 8 or 9 years ago, couldn't find Atlas Code 83 Flex Track anywhere. I went online. Well, they had it in their warehouse. If you were a customer, you could go online and order. So called distributor and said, hey, they got it in stock. Oh, that was a bad thing to do because the customer side, the retail side of Atlas appears to not want to work with the wholesale side of Atlas. So it makes it rough on everybody. When you're trying to order and the manufacturer says they don't have it, have it, but you can go to their website and order it, that makes me look bad, and I don't appreciate that.
What about the electronic side of the hobby? I understand that some of the manufacturers on the electronic side are having trouble getting parts.
Soundtracks haven't had any problem. NCE systems, I think we had like a 4 or 5 week wait on them. TCS, 2.5 to 3 months just for decoders. So it's in MRC, transformers, we might see them before Christmas. It's just everything electronic seems to be getting harder and harder to get.
And doesn't seem to be getting any better.
No. And I hate having empty shelves because, a lot of people drive 1.5 hours, 2 hours to get here. And when they get here, they want to be able to fill their grocery bag. And if we can't get it, that looks bad on me.
Well, what's your advice to a model railroader? I mean, does he try to get on a waiting list? I mean, what's he do? I mean, he needs this kind of stuff at some point if he's going to be a model railroader.
Yes. What we do is you come in, you say you want, 2 Atlas turnouts, and we put you on the list. And as soon as they come in, we call you. We do a pre-order on a lot of stuff, Athearn and Rapido and that kind of stuff. But as soon as it gets here, we take it out of the box, put it in the system, and then we call you and say it's here.
Let me ask you this.
Sure.
There's a lot of small manufacturers. I call them the mom and pop manufacturers.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think they're the heart and soul of the hobby.
Right.
And they have a tough road to go because they don't have a lot of money normally to spend on advertising and promotion. So what can a hobby shop do to help these people? I mean, do you order from the small manufacturers for people, or how can they work with you, or how can you work with them?
Well, there's a small company out of Texas, Mac Braille. They do end of train devices, solar panels for the ballast cars, the horizontal ballast cars, the radio antennas, sets for diesel locomotives, and all. Just a small company, a little bit like Malico, and we bought an additional spinner to have space just for the Malico detail parts and the Mac rail parts and the tangent parts. SS Limited, just talked to the lady who runs the show out there today. They just moved. I consider them another mom and pop company. They've been around forever, but they're struggling just like everybody else to keep up with the demand right now. And, Walthers used to carry a lot of these little guys, Horizon also. And it's gotten to the point now, if it doesn't turn big numbers, the distributors don't want to carry their products. So we go direct to the manufacturer.
So what's the small manufacturer now to do? I mean, he's got to, you can't find them all. I mean, you don't have time to call them up and say, hey, I'm a hobby shop. You interested in doing this or that or whatever? So what do? They need to call you or what?
I mean, I get products from some companies every now and then, you know, hey, this is what we got. And are you interested? I don't know. It's a hard call. When we first opened 30 years ago, we did the Timonium Scale Show in Baltimore, or in Timonium, Maryland. And after 10 years, we finally gave up on that because it seemed like the market had just died for us. But when we went there, you know, that was days when if you wanted a certain car, you had to paint it and decal it. So we'd go and we'd sell hundreds of sets of decals in one weekend. The last show we did 12 years ago, I don't think I sold 3 sets of decals because everything is now, you know, comes pre-lettered, pre-painted and ready to go. And the people that are decaling have gotten less and less, but we still stock around 2,600 sets of decals, micro scale, all year round. So, you know, it's hard. I don't know what to say to somebody that's a small company that wants to get their name out there. I really don't.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Another tough one is the shipping cost to Canada. And we have some Canadian modelers on the show right now. Mm-hmm. And to hear them talk about the shipping cost and ordering stuff from the United States, you know, if they order a $50 item from the States, they may pay $60 shipping to get it. Right. And the shipping cost to Canada is just unbelievable. You got any advice or comments or?
Shipping anywhere is outrageous right now. Canada is one of the worst. And the way we go about it on our website is we charge $65. But then if it only costs actually $35, we give you the refund of the difference. If folks call with a phone order, we do the same thing. We weigh it up, get the actual shipping, and that's what we charge folks. Because shipping it's just outrageous, but it's cheaper than driving.
What's the future of your hobby shop?
Well, I hope to be here for a little bit longer. I'm 62.
You see the hobby shop business changing. You see the hobby change. I do. I mean, where you know in 30 years you've had to see some significant change in the hobby shop business. So what's the future hold?
With COVID, it's been a big reinsurgence for everybody. Manufacturers can't keep up, you know, because people were home. They found a new hobby or they got back into the old hobby. What the next 2 years will be, I don't know. I hope it stays the way it is because we're seeing so much new product that we've never seen before. You know, especially like Rapido trains is just one. It's like every day you turn around, they're announcing something else. Tangent, every other month, he's bringing us something new in. There's a good bit of new blood coming into the hobby as far as manufacturing goes. Prices aren't going down any, but it's like anything. Nothing's getting any cheaper. So I don't know. I just hope it maintains. Because if you look at the folks that are on this Zoom meeting, we're not young anymore. And that's the biggest problem right now is getting young people interested in the hobby.
Well, you know, you're talking about that. I don't see that the days of the basement layouts and the full 3-story layouts in a large room and so forth. Most people, they don't have the money to do that. They don't have the time to build that unless they're doing it with a club. So what I'm seeing, I think what's happening in some cases, at least, or modules are taking a bigger place in model railroading for the individual, at least, because they can store a module.
Right.
Doing a module first class and really spending the time and effort to detail it, they've got time to do that. Or a diorama, they've got time to take a kit and spend $100, $200, $300 on a kit to make a diorama out of it. And it may be the only diorama they do this year or next year, but they're model builders. They're modelers at that point. And it seems to me I'm hearing more people talk about, I'm a modeler and I like modeling model railroads or modeling railroads, rather than hearing I'm a model railroader and I run model railroads. Are you hearing that, or am I crazy?
No, we're still seeing a lot of folks. They're not. We have some with this new T-track, and that was displayed 3 years ago at one of our clinics days, and we've had a couple modelers pick that up. But for the most part, we're still seeing people talk about building layouts, which is a good thing.
Absolutely, I agree. What do you see for the clubs? You see the clubs growing? You see them in trouble? What's happening with the club movement?
The being shut down for the past years has hurt clubs with their income. But then I think the local clubs, it has helped them because they've had a whole year to work on their layouts and not have to clean up this week because we're going to have a show next week. They can make a mess and it stays there for 6 months while they're doing the work. I think that has helped. Membership has picked up in our local club here. So I think the clubs are a way to go because, like you were saying, not everybody has the money to invest in a full basement layout.
Another question is, how can model railroaders help you? The hobby shop. What can we do? I mean, what would you like to see us do maybe more than we're doing right now to help you help us?
Probably the biggest thing is when somebody announces something, say Athearn comes out every month with a new product line or, new listing of new products for next year. If you're interested in it, tell us, because like this last what they announced for this July, you've got the steam engines, Southern Pacific steam engines, you've got Genesis cars, you've got a lot of high dollar items there, and if nobody shows any interest in it when it's advertised, okay, well, do we order it or don't we order? And then after it gets here, oh, well, I wanted that. Well, it's too late because it's gotten to the point now where if you don't order it by the cutoff date of when orders are being taken, we don't get it. They set a date as to when the orders are to be here, and a lot of folks get turned off because they'll go to the Atlas delivery schedule and everything will say sold out. Well, it is. They are sold out of everything, but that doesn't mean the stores are sold out. We just haven't received it yet. That's all. The biggest thing, we do pre-orders on a lot of stuff. You can save up to 20% off of retail by pre-ordering it. It's a year ahead of time, but you're saving 20%. And that lets us know that there's an interest in that product and we'll order more of it.
Do the hobby shops have connectivity of somehow that if I come in and say, Brian, I'm looking for this and this and this, and you say, well, I don't have any of that. Is there some way that you can find out if other hobby shops may have it in stock where you can get it from them?
No, none of us. With the Mike's Train House program, we did that with a couple stores, and it worked out well. Everything else, I'll look around and say, hey, these folks here have it, and that's about it. Because the trouble is, if what I've found is I'll call another hobby shop and say, hey, I've got this. And they'll say, okay, this is the price. Well, it's full retail price. And, I just tell the customer it's probably just better for you to go ahead and get it from them, because I'm going to have to pay freight for it. So then I'm going to be way over retail, and that's not what you want. So yeah, nobody seems to work together anymore. We did when we first opened. We worked with 2 other stores, one in Baltimore and one in New Jersey, and we traded inventory like that, and it worked out well for customers. But that has all gone by the wayside now, because there just isn't that many stores around, that stock it. Everything has went to mail order. Does that answer your question there?
Yeah, it does. Unfortunately, it does, because it would be great. It'd be great if the cooperation was still around, because it would certainly, I think, benefit the hobby and benefit the hobbyists particularly. So, with everything that we're talking about, what do you see in the next 5 years? What's your biggest challenge here? What are you really worried about?
Getting product. That's the biggest thing, is get product. Because 80% of everything we sell comes from China. The last locomotives we got in from Lionel in oak age, they came from Vietnam. So evidently we're exploring other markets now, of manufacturing. The U.S. manufacturers, every one of them I talk to, cannot find help. They're struggling with help. And several years ago, I guess we're talking about 8-9 years ago, when the oil boom was going here in Pennsylvania, Bowser put an ad in the paper. I believe it was $13.50 an hour to set and put parts in a box. And they got nobody. That's the biggest thing everybody's facing right now, is just the lack of help.
I understand the hobby shops around the country are facing the same thing, for lack of help.
Yes. We have been very lucky over the years. Right now I have 3 really good modelers that work for us, and 2 other folks that help us out during the week. But it's just hard to find someone that has a knowledge of the hobby at all, that wants to devote a weekend or 2 a month, or a couple days a month, to being in the store. So it makes it a little hard every now and then.
Well, let me open this up to everybody else now. I've been dominated it, but anybody have any questions for Brian that they'd like to ask?
Yeah, Brian, hi, this is Greg.
Hi, Greg.
Do you find that there's still a large majority of the customers that come in your shop are coming in for locomotives or railroad cars, railroad equipment, compared to coming in for supplies to actually build items or to model something? I guess what I'm saying is, are you finding more and more of the modelers are getting ready to run items as opposed to doing their own building?
That's a hard one. I mean, you know what we have detail wise, parts and all, and we keep them because that's bread and butter for us. The locomotives and cars, I don't want to say the parts is the biggest thing, but it's a big chunk of the business for us, is having the detail parts and the little stuff that makes a railroad a railroad. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. My big fear is that the hobby is going to turn away from people actually building stuff and modeling stuff. And I'd hate to see that happen.
Yeah, the thing with the locomotives and freight cars, everybody but AccuRail and Bowser every now and then went to ready to run.
Mm-hmm.
And you got AccuRail kits, which are very similar to the old blue box, shake box stuff. And you can still add your detail parts to them and all. But for the people just getting into it, the price point there is great for them.
Oh yeah, I know. A couple of the last things I've gotten up at your shop are tangent cars, and they're glorious. But I find personally, I don't get the enjoyment out of them because I take them out of the box, put them on the layout, and then I'm all done. Except
right,
I never got the joy of creating anything except more traffic on my layout.
Right.
And I guess it depends on what you want out of the hobby. I'd hate to see the hobby moving away from the modeling aspect of it or the building aspect.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's still a lot of modelers out there, and we still have a lot of folks that are, was it Silver Streak to the wooden building kits or passenger cars and that kind of stuff? The old LaBelle wood kits. Quite a few people are still building those. But yeah, the tangent cars are great, the KD cars. But if you have an operating layout where you have people coming in, handling your freight cars, you can always go around after an op session and pick up parts off them $45 cars. That's the one downside.
Brian, I've got a question about stocking electronics. Obviously, there are multiple DCC systems out there, and each have their own decoders and command stations and things. Now, nobody could reasonably stock every brand of every device of all the electronics that are out there, plus the ones that are obsoleted. These manufacturers are coming out with new electronics every year. Is it practical for you to try to stock some basic electronic or DCC items, or is it better to just come in and order what the latest is direct from a distributor through you?
For us, it's better to stock it because it's like everything else. You've drove 2 hours to get here for that decoder. You want a decoder for your engine. You don't want to be told that I got to order it for you.
Understood.
So we have, I think, just about all the SoundTracks decoders in stock, all their speaker kits and all that. TCS keep a large selection of their stuff. Right now, there's quite a few holes, but it's only been 3 months since we placed the order. NewTracks has a pretty good turnaround time. So we have NCE starter sets, the 5-amp systems, the radio systems, same way with NewTracks. And you got to have this stuff in stock because a lot of folks, I'll buy this engine if you have the decoder for it. And if you can go ahead and stick the decoder in, I'll just take it all. And
there you go.
If you don't have that one thing out of the equation, you can lose the sale. So you got to stock it. And unfortunately, with the electronics, they upgrade every couple of years, and you might have something sitting on a shelf for 5 years, and it's now out of date, and you've lost all your money on it, but you had it in case somebody did come in for it.
Understood. And my local hobby shop has faced that situation for a number of years. But he knows there's some old timers like us that will take a 5-6-year-old NewTracks decoder. It's not the latest and greatest, but it'll do the job, say to put in a caboose or put in that switcher you don't use very often. So at least we can help him clear his inventory. But you try not to have too much of that left over the years.
Right. Yeah. It's it's a hard one, a hard call to know what to order and what to have on hand. And a lot of people come in and say, well, how do you know what to order? We just kind of flip a coin and hope that we pick the right one.
Yeah. Or understood. Or when you get a customer that comes in and says, gee, Evan, I just saw that ad in a magazine or in the bulletin, and it's just been released, and wow, I got to have it. I do that with locomotives, and trouble is, by the time I see the ad, that particular locomotive is long gone. It's a shame.
Right.
You only get so many in the container ship.
Yes.
That's a fact of life. All right. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Brian, my name is Chris, and I do have a question, and it may have been answered here. I had to step away a moment, but obviously you can't carry all the paint brands and everything out there. But I am really into weathering, and I watch a lot of the weathering techniques that the military modelers primarily are using. And a lot of their products that they're using very heavily is the ammo or MIG products versus the Vallejo paints and things. And because the Vallejo, I believe, is a softer paint when totally cured versus the ammo products in a lot of cases. But my question to you, I did a quick look at your website, and I didn't see any ammo on there. Do you carry those, or do you anticipate carrying that product line?
That's something we're looking at. Back in the first of the year, we started looking around, asking customers, what do you want? And the biggest one was Vallejo. So in May, we ordered 2 Vallejo racks. I just, as a matter of fact, emailed the distributor today saying, yeah, we ordered them, he says. And, that was in May. Haven't seen anything yet. So I might get racks and never get any paint for it. I don't know.
Okay, yeah. Because my problem has been trying to find hobby shops that actually have the MIG product available. So I'm sure that it's one of these issues of getting stock in and things. So, but I was just kind of wondering, because obviously you can't keep everything up on your website either. That's got to be an atrocious task.
That's updated. It's supposed to update everything nightly. Supposed to.
That's amazing.
Yeah, every night that's supposed to run and update everything. As far as paint, I'd like to expand. I mean, we've got scale coat, but that's 4 and 5 months wait sometimes to get paint from him. Testers, I don't think anybody knows what's going on with testers right now. Model Masters is gone, Flowquil is gone. True Color is the only one that I call, I order, it's here. And he continues to bring out more colors every month, usually about 4 new colors in spray cans. So that's a good thing. And Badger, they have their outs, but for the most part, their rack stays full. So that's why we were looking at Vallejo or some of these other paint companies, trying to be able to fill the need for the paints, because we do have a lot of military modelers that come in for detail parts and paint and all that. So that's something we're working towards. It's a pretty big investment, and then trying to find a place to put it. That's our problem. Space.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you for the answer.
Sure thing. Thank you.
Brian, just curious, is your major wholesale distributor in Nebraska?
No.
Okay.
We deal with Heartland, Horizon, Hobby Time, Emery, Bowser, Walthers, and Horizon.
Yep. Heartland's where I send my stuff to. Good people.
And you are, I'm sorry.
I'm Nick and Nick's Trains.
Oh,
I've been marketing you for a while.
Oh,
I'll be back. I promise.
okay.
Oh, Brian, I have a question.
Yes.
How how does this whole thing work with, say, like, just Athearn, for instance? Athearn announces some locomotive that they're going to put out next year. Right. Do they make 1,000 of them or 10,000 of them or whatever? Or do they, if they got like 100,000 orders, would they make 100,000 of them?
What we have been told over the years is they'll make 10% more than what they get orders for.
Okay.
So what they order, like we ordered, how many ever here this month for July's locomotives, cars, and all that sort of stuff. Then once Athearn combines everybody's wants list, then they make 10% more than that. And that's usually sold out by the time the stuff gets here.
So technically, if you pre-ordered, you would get it no matter what. Is that a fair, reasonable statement?
That's what we like to think. But
okay.
Sometimes they don't get everything that they order. Athearn, Atlas, all of them.
Yeah, and I just picked Athearn as a name. Any of them,
right.
Just curious.
Yeah, I know Atlas. That's where I got the 10% from. Atlas had told us that many years ago that they do 10% more than what they have orders for at the cutoff date.
Okay.
And that's pretty much the way it works. So we try to order enough so that when it does get here, but just like Athearn just did the Chessie Jeep 9s, and we tried to order more of them a couple of weeks ago. They were already gone, and they hadn't even been unpacked from the container yet. So yeah, it's getting to the point now where if you see it, best order it when you can.
Brian, let me ask you, do you as a hobby shop owner get an advance notice of what they're going to produce?
The same advance notice as anybody else does. If you go to somebody's website, like Athearn, first of the month, they'll announce, or the end of the month, they announce stuff. That's when we find out anything. Tangent, when he sends out an email to everybody saying it's there, that's when we find out what's coming or what he's got. Yeah, we don't get really any advance notice of anything except from Lionel. They'll send out an email about a month ahead of time saying, this is what's coming, but do not release this information until we release it to the public.
So how would a modeler try to keep up to make sure they can get an order into you and not miss out on a new product coming out?
That's a very good question. I mean, we have a lot of folks that, they get on the email list from like Tangent or Athearn or whatever. And when they send out an email saying, hey, we're making this stuff, they're sending orders in before I've even gotten the email to read it. And that's pretty much the way, I try to do a newsletter, which it's not long, it's not much, but just finding the time to do it is the big problem about stuff. And a lot of times I hear, well, you need to do more N scale. And I do more N scale, but I get no response from doing N scale. So most of my emails are notices about HO equipment, HO products. I try to throw some N scale in there, to give people a heads up of what's coming. And it's like we've been working with Bethlehem Car Works. Earlier this year, he did Western Maryland Passion Car. And I announced that before John released it to the public. And same way with the Combine. We announced it before John has made it public. But for the most part, the average customer, if they sign up for the emails from the company, they'll know it before we actually know it, or at the same time.
Let me ask you this. Is there a list of companies that a modeler ought to try to get on their email list if they're interested in knowing what's coming?
I think it's, well, like Tangent, Malico, are two small companies. Tangent, not really a small company anymore, but I still call him a small company because it's basically David and a couple other people. Malico is a family-owned company. If you just get on their newsletter, that's probably the best thing you can do. But it's just there's not one place to go to get all the information that you would be looking for that I know of.
Well, let me ask you this: there is a National Retail Hobby Shop Association.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't they provide that kind of service? Because I'm assuming this would benefit all the hobby shops.
Well, there's the hobby shops, and then there's model railroad stores. And for some odd reason, the model railroad stores are far and few between when it comes to what I found out that they call hobby shops. We've went to a couple of their meetings, and most places were everything but trains, or just a little bit of trains. So we don't hold a big say in what they do, unless I'm missing something somewhere.
I got you. And there's no other place out there that would do this. Maybe the NMRA.
That might be a place to start. It would be a time-consuming task to keep up with everybody's new products. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times people will announce new products and then they have no photographs. And then we don't get photographs until the stuff gets here. And then we try getting photographs at that time. That's something that I think
it sounds to me like there's a lot of speculation in this. That you've got guys out there that are buying, they've got a standing order. We buy one of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're into the reselling market.
Right.
And that seems to be what I'm hearing you say is happening with a lot of the new issues coming out.
Well, there's no set order number amount that we have to order or anything like that. So we order what we want. But going back to the thing of, having to guess what is going to sell. So we order one of everything or try to, and hope for the best.
Yeah, but if the modelers out there knew it was coming and had an opportunity to notify you, then you'd have a better feel. You'd be able to serve the market. The average modeler has no idea. By the time the average modeler finds out about it, it seems to me that the quote pros that are on the inside somehow have already they've already taken advantage of it. Yeah.
The biggest thing, like I say, is to get on the manufacturer's mailing list. Athearn has them. Tangent, I know. Malico. All these guys have mailing lists. It's just taking the time to get on each and every one of them to find out what's coming out.
What about Atlas, for example?
I think they have a newsletter that goes out. But their delivery schedules are so far out of whack on product. Athearn here a couple months ago, we got highway tractors in that we had ordered back in 2015, I think it was. 2015 or 2016 was when they were ordered, and they just showed up this year. It's a hard one. Trying to think who it was that used to do a catalog every month. But they said, by the time we get the catalog printed, and get it out there, it's out of date. Yep. And that's the big thing. Then we have a lot of folks that don't have internet. So they'll buy a Walther's catalog once every 10 years and want something from 10 years ago because it was in the catalog. Yeah, nobody's come up with a perfect way of getting the word out yet. Like on the front of our register, the counter there, I put up the new announcements from Tangent, Rapido, Athearn, Walther's, so that when you're checking out, you can look down and see some of the announcements of the new stuff. And we take pre-orders on it, and that way you can save money. And when it gets here, you're the first one to get it.
Now, your pre-orders, do I make a deposit? Do I put money down at that point?
No, I don't want any money down. The reason being, just like, well, if the delivery date gets changed or pushed back, well, then I paid you for that. You said it was going to be here in June. It's now September. I don't want to have that going on. If people want to put a deposit down so that they know it's paid for when it gets here, that's fine. But I do not ask for deposits on advanced reservations unless you're talking a brass model. Then when they announce that it's actually going into production, from Third Rail or someone like that, we used to deal with Overland also, we would ask for a deposit then. But for what we do now, no money down until you have it in your hand or it's on its way to you.
What about brass? Is brass going out of style now?
No, I don't think so. Because we have sold quite a few brass pieces this year. And it seems like we're selling a little bit more of it. It's coming from collections, but it's selling and it's bringing a fairly decent dollar. So no, I don't think brass is going away. It still has its niche.
I have a quick question. Since the demise of Radio Shack, there's no real place that I've been able to find to actually get the electronic parts. Would that be something that could be helpful in, I guess, helping you get more people in the hobby in your store, or would that be more hassle than it's worth?
That's a good question. I assume you've seen DigiKey's catalog?
Online, yes.
Okay. Well, if you see the hard copy, it's like 1.25 inches thick.
Yes.
And here we're back to what do I stock and what's going to sell, and then where to put it. That's, yeah. We've ordered some stuff through DigiKey for customers, but it hasn't been a lot. And yeah, the thing with Radio Shack going away really hurts. Then Minitronics, they had a few things, but now they've discontinued them. So it's a niche that somebody probably could pick up. It's just finding somebody that wants to do the work.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Anybody else have questions for Brian?
Hobby shops have been closing left and right. What do you count? What's your success? Why have you stayed open when most of the other hobby shops are closing?
I'm a little younger than some of them. That helps. And then we've had some distributors close too. And they said, we're just tired of it. We're done. We're 60 some years old and we're just tired of fighting. And it's a 7-day-a-week job when you own a hobby shop, because you're not dealing with just one or two people. We deal with hundreds of people every week, and everybody wants something. And that's part of the deal. We open the doors to be here to provide a service, and we're going to do that. Like Greg knows, we stock quite a lot of detail parts, and that's a big thing. That there's a mail order place in Baltimore that their own people come up here and patronize us because we have it in stock. You can pick it up, see it, touch it, feel it. And that's the big thing. There's still a lot of us that like to see what we're buying before we lay down the money. And I think that's what keeps us going is we try to keep the new products in stock and still maintain the old products that we can. With working with John Green from Bethlehem Car Works, John emails me, says, "Hey, we're going to do this kit," and I jump on them and try to push them to keep new product flowing through the store, and that's what you got to do. You can't sit back and hope that what you had 30 years ago might sell tomorrow. If it's old, you got to move it, get rid of it.
Brian, this is Greg again. I'd like you to just mention to folks, besides being a hobby store owner, you're also a model railroader, and just mention the layout that you have in your house.
Oh, come on, Greg. I have a model Western Maryland 1970. I was in Model Railroader last year. I think it was February. Cover article. It was in last year's calendar for Model Railroader. It's 3/4 of the basement, HO scale, like I say, Western Maryland 1970. I modeled from Baltimore to Cumberland, mostly focused on Hagerstown Yard and York, Pennsylvania. And I've been doing that for about 30 years. Plus, I also have a Fairmont speeder that we take out a couple times a year and motor car with also. I'm a member of Narcoa there. So that's my two hobbies.
Sounds like you're awful busy.
A little bit, but that keeps me going.
Well, Brian, before we let you go, you got any final thoughts or final words for the hobbyist?
Wow. That's a good question. We just got to hang in there and, what we're hoping for will eventually get here. If it's like you can scratch build a model today and tomorrow somebody's going to bring one out already done for you. So you just hang in there and just remember that the hobby is fun. No matter how aggravating it is, you just tell yourself the hobby is fun and keep going at it because it's an enjoyable hobby. I wouldn't have been doing it for all my life if I wouldn't enjoy it.
Well, Brian, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be with us tonight. And I can certainly see why Greg is so high on your hobby shop. I know a lot of us wish we had a hobby shop like you have anywhere close to us. So thank you so very much for being here tonight and sharing your hobby shop with us.
Well, thank you very much. You gentlemen have a good evening now.
Well, guys, that's it for this time. Next meeting is Saturday, July the 31st. Our featured modeler is Wayne Wesser of Craftsman Forest Products, Scenery. We got special segments with Dave Rarick and his card build along of Paul Eggert's card kit, and Chris Blackmar's modeling. And Dave Silvernail is going to do, was going to do Scenery water, but he's now not able to do that. So he's going to do that on the August 14th show. And of course, we'll have quick tips from either Paul or Ted. So finally, please visit our website, NewTracksModeling.com. You get the most information there about the upcoming shows and events that we plan. Send me an email if you've got any comments or suggestions or ideas for future shows. Thanks so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. And happy modeling to you until next time. Thank you so much. And Ed, we're finished. Or Ken, we're finished.
Hey, for those on the call, don't forget we have the after hour show.